Now, Southwest Airlines is total chaos. They don't have any assigned seats. So everybody pours out. We've flown Southwest recently. Jesse and Kelly DeForest, when we went to New Orleans a couple of weeks ago, they flew Southwest, no assigned seats. Helter skelter. It's like Charles Manson took over the airlines. Helter skelter, my friend.
Exactly.
Imagine that. It's like musical chairs. All of a sudden, people are like diving for seats. As if you went to a concert and they just opened the gates or a ball. Imagine if you went to a ball game. And it happens in Saratoga, I guess, which is opening up later on this week. Saratoga Race Course, where the people are piled up by the gate. And as soon as they open the gate, they all make a mad dash to try and claim one of the tables outside. I mean, the people running. People have guys stashed in there. They pay people to wait online and claim a table for them.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very special good morning to you, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz here on South Florida Live, a channel that's growing exponentially with each passing moment. Lubie put the thing on the map, and we're trying to make it happen. And glad you guys are finding us. More inquiries every day. I still can't explain exactly how to find us. It's just you have to just subscribe to South Florida Live. Is that the whole thing? Or do you have to have that?
We have a lot of content, so they can just look up South Florida Live anywhere, or look up the Defo Show with Lubie anywhere, or look up Mike Mayo's Lunchbox anywhere, and you'll find us. We've been doing
okay. All right. So we're easy to find, and glad you guys are catching on, and hopefully we'll be here for a long, long time. Because as I realized while I was on my little vacation there for my birthday, celebrating 71 years on this wonderful, lovely planet, which is getting more bizarre by the day, you would have to say. This Capitol hearing today ought to be pretty interesting, right? With is Steve Bannon actually going to be on the TV portion of the Capitol hearing? Do you know whether that's happening or not today?
I don't know.
Another audacious, hey, don't believe what you see. Trump ally going to be testifying. I would imagine there'll be some hostility there that'll be spewed about. And this guy loves his show, so I think this is going to be quite a freak show taking place today if Steve Bannon indeed is going to have his testimony televised. Anyway, we are in the sports business because it's good to be in a toy department sometimes. It just really is. Reality just smacks you in the face. It's like getting hit with a flying brick in a hurricane. I mean, and that was always my biggest fear in life when I was riding the Wave Runners a lot up and down the Intercoastal. That would be my luck that, I'd get hit in the face with a flying duck. Literally, not a puck, but a duck. And that's how I would go out. Very uncelebrated, unceremonious departure from this earth. A lot of things on the sporting calendar, including, and this is among my favorite events, although, I kind of dig, I guess my favorite tournament is the U.S. Open of the four major golf events. And the reason is, A, I love my country, but B, the conditions of the U.S. Open are almost bordering on farcical, are they not, Lubie? And we've joked about it in the past. I mean, you need like Black & Decker tools to get out of the rough. And that first cut of rough is literally just that. It's rough. And may as well just, take a rasp file and start, rubbing it all over yourself because it's going to be tough getting out of this thing. And, they even have on occasion, I think, considered putting Venus flytraps along the fairway. And the fairways are very narrow. So all of a sudden you hit a ball and then it just gets swallowed up by a plant. I mean, it's crazy. But second to that would be what was known as the British Open. And it was interesting. I think who's the guy in the Post here that writes, is it Cannizzaro? Writes
Mark
about
Cannizzaro. Mark Cannizzaro.
I think it's Mark Cannizzaro. Yeah, I want to say that. Let me see. I have it right here. I don't want to get this wrong. And there's an old Hank Goldberg move to be going through the newspaper, trying to figure out what the heck we're going to talk about today. But I just read the article. Yeah, Mark Cannizzaro. We had it right the first time.
Yeah.
Why do we second guess ourselves now on the memory?
I agree with you. We've had him on before. He writes golf. He writes a lot of things. He's been a writer for them for a long time.
Yeah, Canizero, he does a very good job,
Yeah.
and he has a whole thing about St. Andrews, where the tournament is taking place, and it's the most fabled course, I guess. Maybe is it in the world? Augusta National, would that be number one? St. Andrews, Augusta National. What would you say? Worldwide recognition as a
I would
golf
say
course.
St. Andrews worldwide. Augusta's a big deal here. I mean, I'm sure it's big in Europe, but I don't know if it's the same thing.
You don't
Europe.
think European golfers relish the opportunity to play at Augusta National?
I don't know.
Like American golfers seem to love playing, and they just love St. Andrews, has all the tradition. This is the 150th edition
Yep.
of what was once the British Open. Now, I think it's a little obnoxious that they just call it the Open.
Yep.
Don't you? I mean, is that not a bit pretentious on the part of the
Yes.
Europeans? Enough already with this garbage, huh? It's the British Open. That's what it is. Which I guess is a stretch because what actually constitutes the whole country of England? This is taking place in Scotland. Is that part of it? England,
I'd
Scotland,
say
two different
Britain.
countries.
It's a part of Great Britain, I guess.
Great Britain. Okay, well, that's good enough for me. I mean, you being the geographical
That's me.
expert here, and I have no idea what I'm talking about on this subject, so it doesn't matter. But the equation has always been for me that the British Open, when you're watching it, it really does look like the opening scene in some Dickens novel, doesn't it?
It's like
With
scary.
fog and marshland and low visibility, and you can hear the foghorns in the background. Everybody's depressed. Everybody looks broke. Everybody looks like they're out there just begging for a piece of bread. Those are the fans. I don't even know. Do they have concessions there, or they just make the people beg for food? We're all bundled up. Now, I was just in Europe, a couple of weeks ago. And listen to me. I was just in Europe a couple of
You
weeks ago.
were.
I'd never been there before in my lifetime, but
You were there.
But in Rome, it was 100 degrees every day. So
Wow.
how is it, so different? Now, Ireland, mostly, and I was talking to an Irish couple, and I was asking them about that, and they said, yeah, I mean, it's like 38 degrees, and everybody's wearing an overcoat, even though it should be the dead of summer. We're talking about July here.
Oh, geez.
And you're asking yourself, why are the conditions like that? You would think that there would be summertime somewhat universally, no? I mean, it's one thing you're playing a tournament in Juneau, Alaska, and it happens to be cold, and you say, oh, okay, yeah, that makes some sense. It's Alaska, but
Yeah.
no, the weather is routinely awful. Now, here's the forecast for the tournament, which
Okay.
so I mean, temperatures are going to be consistent with what you would expect, maybe in a European country this time of the year. 68, 67 degrees. That's not too bad, right? Wouldn't have to be all bundled up. Why does everybody look so pasty then? Is there no sunshine?
They never sunshine. Things like Seattle, isn't it like overcast all the time?
Yeah. It's Bill Withers. I mean, ain't no sunshine when we're playing golf. And only a slight chance of rain for a few of the days. The opening day, Thursday, just a couple of days from now, only an 8% chance of rain, which is good, right? Because they play through any kind of rainstorm. You know how they want to get like that final half of an inning in to make a baseball game official, and even though it's a torrential downpour, the umpire's like, oh, what a beautiful day.
What a beautiful morning.
You're like, listen, Angel Hernandez, are you going to call this game, stop it, or what?
Exactly.
Who are you listening to? Who's giving the orders here? Nobody could play baseball in these conditions. You wouldn't even want to fish on Deadliest Catch in those conditions. And they're still playing ball because they want to get the thing in. And it seems like they will continue to play golf no matter how horrendous the conditions are at the British Open, whatever course they happen to be on, whether it's St. Andrews, Royal Troon, or any of the others that they hold this tournament at, which it's spread around a little bit. And it does look like you would have to have a lot of money to belong to any of these clubs, doesn't it? Not that that is not exclusive to British Open courses. Let's face it, how many people are joining up? Does anybody in your circle of friends have a membership at Augusta National, Lubie?
Oh, no. I don't think
Even the Koch brothers can't afford that, right? They don't even think about joining up there. Hootie says, hey, you guys are peasants compared to the people that we have in this club. We can't possibly allow you to embarrass yourself with your limited fundage, right? They're like worth $400 billion. So the field is going to go off on Thursday. The course, obviously, one thing we love about it, and it's great for a hacker, a grounder is a good shot. A low sculling line drive. You know how when you just absolutely shank one, you hit it right off the heel of the club, and it's a whistling line drive, and you're only hoping that it goes straight. Because if it stays anywhere in the vicinity of the fairway, you're going to be in good shape. I don't know if you can get away with that totally off the tee at St. Andrews. I'm not sure. Because intersecting with the fairway will be any amount of what looks like, I mean, just literally like you're playing out in some sand dunes somewhere. It's crazy. So we'll see what happens. Now, there'll be a lot of money spent on Tiger Woods. Well, once again, he's 46 years old. He's coming back. This will be the third tournament that he played in since his comeback from the accident. Third tournament of any significance, obviously, since he did play at Augusta National and surprised everybody by being in contention somewhat after the first round. Did make the cut, got into the second round, and then blew a gasket. He went Arnie Palmer when Arnie was touring the course in his 80s, and you kind of felt sad that they were actually making Arnie go all the way around the course. He was like 82 years old. He could barely walk. And, he was playing a whole round, and he would shoot like 107. They'd shave a few strokes off his score even just out of sympathy. And that's kind of what Tiger looked like the last two rounds of the Masters. Kind of surprising. And then he makes the cut again at the U.S. Open, which a lot of guys that are in top form struggled at the U.S. Open. It was not a pretty scene for many of the golfers in the field. You were seeing guys, that guy that I used, that stupid Dutchman, Van Ruin. Literally, like Ruin, Van Ruin. He ruined.
Exactly.
I think of the 7 guys I picked, 5 missed the cut. So I could have taken Tiger Woods and been better off, although Tiger did drop out of the tournament after the third round and was saying that his leg had made it prohibitive for him to compete. And, that's something that obviously it seems very logical that a guy that nearly, I don't know, that they consider like cutting that thing off. The leg, he crushed it. I mean, not the ball, but he crushed his leg in that car accident. Amazing that he's even walking around, and even more amazing that he's come back. But, I mean, no matter how great the guy is, do you really, if Roger Federer came back right now to play the U.S. Open in tennis after not playing for a while and being, coming back from a knee surgery and being in much better condition to play his sport than I think Tiger Woods is to play golf, would you consider him a favorite and bet money on him to win the U.S. Open? No way, right? You'd say, hey, great, Federer's back. Let's hope he wins a couple of rounds. Maybe he comes back next year and does something. But the likelihood of that is probably Blutarski-esque, right? 0.0.
Yep.
Tiger winning this tournament, it seems inconceivable, does it not? I don't know what odds you're getting on Tiger Woods, but whatever they are, I mean, you may as well just take a lighter and burn whatever money you're going to bet on him, because I would book all of that action once again. That Tiger Woods will not win the British Open. So now, what's going to happen, right? Of course, this is going to be one of those great stories of all time. Oh, this proves it. He's the greatest of all time. I think he kind of proved that anyway, did he not? Is Tiger Woods considered better than Jack Nicklaus at this stage? Better than Jack, even though he didn't eclipse his major total.
Man,
what do you think?
He fell off a cliff. He was when he was in his prime, because they thought he would do it.
He was going to blow by Jack. I mean, it was, and it was apparent that Jack didn't really feel that comfortable about that, because they would have Jack in the booth talking about Tiger, and even though Jack Nicklaus seems very gracious, I think he really is like a genuinely decent human being.
Oh, okay.
But although he did blow us off, you weren't with me that time. I was doing a radio show, and I was with like Joe Rose. I mean, who's always a very kind of forceful figure. If he wants to grab a guy for an interview, he knows how to kind of make that happen, And he was an ex-athlete, so there should be some mutual respect on that level at least. And Joe's trying to get Big Jack to come over. Hey, Jack, and he just blows right by us. I mean, he pulled a Raymond Floyd. Said he'd be back. He didn't come back. All right, and but I had done some stuff, a couple of things with Jack Nicklaus actually, and not that he would remember me in particular, but I did a couple of videos with my buddy Mike when we were working for Sunshine Network at the time, now Fox Sports Sun and Fox Sports Florida, and we were at a couple of events where Jack Nicklaus was holding like clinics and things like that. Very gracious, seemed like a really, really good guy, a genuinely humble and likable human being. But did you detect that he didn't want Tiger to blow past him?
Oh, no way. No
way, right?
No.
He was kind of gritting his teeth as he would go, yeah, it's a good thing this guy's winning all these majors.
It was like Hank Aaron when he was congratulating Bonds.
Oh, no. I mean, that was definitely staged. I mean, this was coming from Jack himself. I don't know that the PGA was putting him up to it, but when Major League Baseball dragged, they schlepped Hank Aaron. They wanted him to follow Barry Bonds around as he was in his quest to break the all-time home run record, which we know was bogus. I was just thinking about this in the shower because they were announcing the field for the home run derby, and I was thinking, well, geez, who would you like to really see in that thing? And they put Albert Pujols is in the field now, and that's kind of cool. And I'm looking, going, wow, Pujols is actually, I believe, he is 16 home runs away from 700 for his career. Now, he's been playing a long time, but I mean, 700 home runs is an unfathomable number, is it not? And yet, Barry Bonds, who was averaging probably like 26 home runs a year when he was at the top of his game before the juice, all of a sudden has 56 by the All Star break. And I mean, these records are just absolutely. It's onerous that we ignored what was going on there because you don't see anybody, no matter how hot people are right now. Aaron Judge is having a great season. They're hoping he hits 61. All right, no one's hitting in the 70s like they were when McGuire and Bonds and Sosa were on the juice all the time. So how far askew did that really throw?
Oh, man.
All of Major League Baseball's sacred records. I mean, they went out the window. The other thing that bugs me, too, a little bit, I don't know. I mean, can you vote for an All-Star that's hitting like 229? The Post was trying to make a case for Francisco Lindor being an All-Star at shortstop. The guy's hitting 239, for God's sake. And then you equate it out. I mean, is there a natural instinct to equate it out to the cash that he's making? I mean, are you really happy paying $30-some-odd million a year to a guy who's hitting 239? Think about that. They ragged on Clete Boyer, one of my favorite players of all time, because he only hit 250. Ragged on him. His brother Ken, of course, was a great hitter, all-around versatile hitter. Clete Boyer used to get about 20 home runs a year. I still maintain, might have been, and people are going to say you're out of your mind, DeForest, but I did watch this guy a lot, being a Yankee fan, growing up in New York. As good a defensive third baseman as ever played in the league. Clete Boyer. Think about that. People are going to say what? Brooks Robinson comes to mind first. Mike Schmidt. A lot of people. I don't remember thinking that Mike Schmidt was this brilliant defensive third baseman. I guess he is considered among the best ever. Robinson, naturally, I mean, he was making circus plays, but so was Clete Boyer. I mean, Clete Boyer was doing everything in the field that Brooks Robinson was doing, in my opinion. And, people didn't really have that much respect for his game because he only hit 250. Think about that. 250 today with 20 home runs and a dynamite fielder. I guess Greg Nettles was also a tremendous defensive third baseman. There have been many, many others, but wow, I don't know. Is that a fair contention? That among the greatest ever to play third base from a defensive standpoint, Clete Boyer, but unrecognized as a great because of his batting average. And now you got a guy hitting 239. They're making a case that he should be an All-Star when you would have to say, at best, to this point, Francisco Lindor has been a big disappointment to the New York Mets, no? Including that strikeout with first and third and a chance to put the Mets back in a big ball game in that finale against the Marlins in the series that took place over the weekend, right? Who struck out in a big spot? Francisco Lindor.
Exactly.
I thought at one time Lindor was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. Also, to play the shortstop position, so shows you what I know. Right? Once he got the money, what happened?
Exactly.
Kind of bombed out there. Anyway, so the All-Star game is coming up. That's going to be, in Los Angeles. That's next week. And the home run derby, you think about it, Lubie. No one's touching 70 home runs.
Nah.
Those records are just absolutely ridiculous. And what was Bud Selig thinking at the time, huh? I know nothing.
Yeah,
kind of like that, is it a state senator or no? It was a House of Representative guy, one of the Republican right wingers that was saying, "Hey, it's just another day at the Capitol." That's the new reality, isn't it? Just completely ignore the truth, and then make up your own truth, and then say that everybody else is reporting fake news. Right? I mean, what was more fake news than the fact that the election was stolen from Donald Trump? There's never been a bigger piece of fake news. So who's proliferating that? The Trumpster.
Yes, 100%.
Does he really come back in 2024, Louis? This is starting to scare me a little bit.
I don't want to be it. He just, what do you mean? That scam, the thing where he literally bilked his people for $250 million, where he was saying he was running.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever. The thing with the election was stolen. So they were donating money because the election was stolen. And he didn't even have a fund. He was literally putting it in his personal.
Oh, yeah. He was paying like, what is it? One of the Trump kids' wives, like $60,000 a shot to introduce him at various speeches he was making. Yeah. Okay, everybody, let's have a hand for our 45th president, Donald Trump. Here you go,
Behind
60
closed
grand.
doors, he had admitted, I know I lost. Like, he wasn't even fighting it. He had admitted, I know I lost, but he wanted money. And so that's the thing is, how does he keep getting money? Oh, I'm running, which
I'm
is not
running again.
evil. You're not supposed to take that money personal. It's supposed to be for a campaign. But as we know, until they go and put him in a prison, he'll push every limit known to man.
Julian says Van Ruin, and it's spelled Rooyen.
What's
Is
it allowed to
175 to 1 to
There you
win
go,
this thing.
Deuce. That's
I
all
wouldn't
you.
bet a penny on this cat ever
I
again.
hope not.
Skinny little. I mean, every time I go with like some skinny European guy, like
It's
Heinrich
crazy.
Stenson, they go right into the tank. It's awful. Anyway, I don't know who's going to win this thing, Lubie. You going with the usual suspects? Naturally, McElroy is the favorite.
McElroy. Yeah, I say McElroy. He's been
McElroy
playing.
going to do it? I don't know. I mean, it's
Or your
you know,
Scheffler
so
guy.
competitive.
Scheffler was hanging around. Maybe
Shoffley?
Scheffler, Scotty Scheffler.
Oh, Scotty Scheffler, yeah. I mean, you have to have a little bit of a different type of game, don't you? I mean, it's the old bump and run there at the British Open, isn't it?
Like
It's bump and run. Hey, I mean, you tap the ball and you let it roll and roll and roll and roll, and look at that, it's rolling right up the hill.
Oh my God!
Who was the British announcer? And this is bad. I can't remember his name. That always is talking about things as a Well, I mean, he references and speaks of the game as if it was a disease, which I kind of like about the coverage there. What's the guy's name? Come on, now we should know this.
You reference him. I don't know him. I know Nance, and I know Dan Hicks. And
they have to give this guy a little bit of time there. Who's doing the tournament? CBS, you would think, as the British Open. I haven't really seen the promos. ESPN, who's got the tournament?
Probably.
I would think CBS is doing a British Open, and that guy for me, he is great. Oh, it's a pity that ball has worked its way into a watery grave. And you're like, what? Guy hit it in the lake. Why don't you just say that? That'd be fine. I guess it's more colorful, and they have a certain poetic approach to the way that they describe things. With the British Open being in play, and I'm going to have to pick my team, Lubie, sometime today. I don't have the list in front of me, the different columns, but that's a tough one because you talk about the nondescript European schmenk who slips in there and ruins everything.
Yeah, this is it.
Not sure about winning, but and there's so many of these guys. It's kind of weird.
Peter Alice, your guy?
Peter Alice is the guy. Yeah, Peter Alice. He's great, man.
Look at Mayo.
What an utter tragedy this is of Shakespearean proportions.
During our show than he is during his show. If you want to come up with that during the lunchbox, there's no way.
Mike Mayo, yeah. Mayo knows golf.
No, but I'm saying during the lunchbox, he wouldn't have thought about that. Right now, he's like on it. We need to have him do a show at like 6.
Yeah. You can't remember what he ate for dinner last night on the lunchbox.
I know.
I think I had the spaghetti there. We love Mayo.
He's throwing Peter Alice out of his ass at 7:30.
Peter Alice, yeah. Nice job, Mike.
Good for you, Mayo.
I should know that. I mean, that's worse than blanking on Bartolo Colon yesterday and Karl Ravitch. It's never good when this is happening. Or when you're looking at a guy on TV and you can't figure, oh, yeah, that's that Clooney. I think that's George Clooney. What? How do you not know that? Oh, he said he Googled it. I'm surprised because I would think Mike would know that off the top of his head because he is very devoted to golf. It's funny, too, because I like talking about golf. And it always seemed like a little bit of a taboo subject here. And it's very surprising with the number of golf courses and the amount of golf that's being played. I mean, what happens when you talk to any of your friends? What are you doing today? I'm going out shooting around the golf. Yep. You even play golf.
I haven't in a while.
You can't help but get addicted to golf when you move to South Florida. I believe that to be a fact. If you're any kind of guy that enjoys, or a woman for that matter, that enjoys going out and playing sports, golf all of a sudden becomes an obsession when you first really get into it. I used to go out like I was Michael Jordan and play 36 holes a day. Horribly, but I mean, I didn't mind going around the course twice, walking at the Hollywood Lakes golf course, which was a mosquito hatchery. Yeah, they didn't have golf carts there.
36
It was like $5 to play around, and they didn't care if you went around again. So, we used to all go out there. I never really was a big fan of the little cart that pulls the clubs, though. That seemed like kind of a weak move, didn't it? When you had the cart that you drag behind you and pull the clubs. I guess some college golfers do that when they caddy for themselves.
How long are you on the golf? Were you there for like 8 hours? Like, how long are you on the golf course?
Oh, we would play all day, man. I mean, we just
Oh
couldn't
my
get
God.
enough of it. It was absolutely fantastic. Even while being a shankopotamus, you would think, okay, I'm going to play another couple of holes. I'm going to start getting a hold of this ball and make something happen. And then, without any form whatsoever, as is typical of me in any sport that I play, you manufacture a game, and it seems to be working for a while. But in golf, you can't hold it together if you don't have the right form. It's the same thing in tennis.
Yep.
If you don't have the proper form, you're never going to be able to beat somebody who does. Never.
Yep.
And you're never really going to get to the point where you can consistently shoot any kind of a low number.
Yeah.
You might be able to grind out your 85s and 86s, but in general, you're going to be a failure as a golfer unless and there's too much stuff to remember if you take lessons, isn't there, Lubie? Lessons seem like a total waste to me.
Out of me. My buddy tried to help me, and I'm like, I don't know what the. I'm like, he's like, bend your arm, but then straighten it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck does that mean? What are you talking about? Keep it bent.
I always try to apply principles from other sports that I picked up and incorporate them into a game that really defies all of those very same tenets. All right. Because, I mean, there was a thing, if you wanted to add a little bit more power to your swing in baseball, a friend of mine told me this a long time ago, and it actually was true. That if you're a right-handed hitter, you should pull through harder with your left hand. Okay. Pull through harder with your left hand, and let your left hand really, provide the spark in that shot, that you're trying to hit over the fence, and so that kind of worked, but it doesn't work in golf.
No, and
yet I would try it all the time. I would always try to overswing with the left hand, and all that does is send the ball flying either way left.
Yep.
It's funny, too, how far off course you can hit a ball, isn't it? Especially if you have like a banana slice, which is the worst of all things to have, as a habitual result of your golf swing, the banana slice, where it just starts drifting off to the right there. And you're like, wow, where is this thing going? My God.
Aiming that way.
It just keeps going that way, like onto the Palmetto Expressway, right? You're playing at Shula's. You're like, well, what was my ball doing on 826? Unbelievable.
I'm so frustrated.
What hole are you on? I'm on 826.
Playing the highway.
Right now I'm playing the Palmetto. I'm playing 4. Once you get to Shanks, too, it's almost impossible. But wow, I mean, they have some vicious rough there. Yeah. At the British Open. Unbelievable. I mean, where literally, I mean, you have plants that are like 10 feet tall and you're trying to hit out of them. And that's just the initial cut of rough. Yeah, that's great. I love
that's that. Like not the really scary rough. That's just the.
No, that's just
right.
Yeah, right. It's one thing you're in Arizona, you're impaled to a cactus while you're trying to hit a ball. Okay. And there's nothing but sand in front of you. You need a camel to get to the next hole. But this gets really difficult if you're not hitting a ball straight. So how do we figure out who's going to be good in this thing, Lubie? Who do we pick? I don't know. Are we going to go with the chalk? If I had stuck with the guys that I was playing like the previous couple of tournaments where we got involved in this pool, in this last tournament, the U.S. Open, I would have done very well. Instead, I got cute. Yeah. Changed it up a little bit, said, hey, Defo, you've been losing ever since you hit that first one. You've been losing ever since. You haven't come close. All right? Half your guys are missing the cut. You're playing big-name guys, and maybe it's time for a change. So I changed it up a little bit, and all of those guys missed the cut. Unbelievable.
Yep.
Including this Van Ruin. Unbelievable. Van Ruin. If he wins it up at 175 to 1, that'd be great, right?
That'd be annoying.
Rabakina, the girl that won the Wimbledon, was 100 to 1 to win Wimbledon.
Oh, really?
100 to 1, yeah.
Oh, that's.
I don't know that she was so playable. I mean, nobody had ever heard of her really before that. She didn't really come out of nowhere, but she seemed an unlikely winner in that tournament. I think Kyrgios had odds that were substantial also. I mean, as you would imagine, because he'd never won a Grand Slam, and he was ranked way down there in terms of the possibilities to win the thing. I don't know. Is he ranked like 50th in the world, something like that?
Well, he always gets in his own way. He always one bad call in the first set, he starts yelling at his racket and the judge and the people stand. So by the second set, he's just in the second round. He's ruined everything. Talent wise, he could probably be as good as anyone. He's just, as we know, a lunatic. So he always finds a way.
A nut job. Yeah.
And he did it in the final.
He blew up in the final. I mean, and when have you ever seen Djokovic be the absolute epitome of cool? Right? Djokovic had the demeanor of Roger Federer.
Yes,
where you don't know if he's winning or losing in that matchup. And Kyrgios is going nuts after every shot, even when he got a point. He's screaming at people. He was crazy. Can you win like that? I mean, some guys, obviously, people would say that's just so and so being so and so, which is one of the worst justifications for boorish and bad behavior that you could ever get. I mean, that's just Iverson being Iverson. No, it isn't. It's a guy that didn't show up for practice for the 6th day in a row.
Exactly.
Larry Brown can't even get him on the phone, and we're in the NBA Finals. Unbelievable.
Like McEnroe did the yelling, but McEnroe, from what I remember and what I've seen, wasn't incessant. Like McEnroe would play, be in it, and then he would just lose it, and then he played me and then lose it. Like Kyrgios will hit a point where, all right, that's the end. And then the rest of the match, he's now lost his mind and he's done. Like McEnroe sort of used it to drive him. Like Kyrgios gets his way. Like he just, it's.
Oh, no doubt, man. I mean, you're sitting on the bench there, bitching and moaning at nobody in particular. After he won a game, it's the strangest thing. Not a great way to approach taking on. I mean, as we were talking about yesterday, a guy who's as mentally tough as any athlete that we've seen, who also is considered to be a flake in the beginning, in Novak Djokovic, who for the last 10 years or so, I mean, he's down 2-0 to this guy, Yannick Sinner, the unlikely Italian. And you're thinking, and Leslie Visser was sending me some texts. I was in Atlantic City, and I'm watching this thing, and I was thinking, of course, I sat on this one because it's the bets you don't make are the ones that you will take to your grave regretting. And I thought, you know what? This would be a good time to bet Djokovic down 2-0 to come back and win this thing. And sure enough, he did. And that would be the time that you were getting a price. This in-game betting could be interesting if you really just hold down and go completely against the grain.
Yes, you're doing Andy. Andy, that's what he does for a living. He hedges. Yes. He bets against what everyone else is doing. That's what you do.
Whatever, is the least likely possibility, and when it becomes even more prohibitive than you could ever imagine, go ahead and unload on that.
Yep.
Although when the Marlins were down 10-0 to the Mets, I never considered betting more money on the Marlins in that game to come back and win it. Okay. That would have taken some balls. And stupidity, of course. Unbelievable. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. Do you have any ideas on this thing, Lubie, in terms of who
I was
going to
say, for some reason, Usti, like some random ass European schmank, is really the vibe I'm getting. Like, I'm trying to think of, you said Schwartzel, and you'll never bet on him again because he screwed you. Like I don't know about Van Ruin, but like someone.
No, Van Ruin, forget it. I never touch this. If he wins, he wins without me. That's the way you look at that one.
But someone like that, or they threw out Phil. Phil's 200 to 1. Like
Phil, no chance. Get out of here.
Like,
Phil doesn't care anymore. Phil got his money.
I'm just asking.
He's very happy. He is a classic example of a guy who got his money and really doesn't give a flying one at this point. I don't think.
That's what it looks like.
I don't even know if if he wasn't required to show up for these Live Tour events, he probably wouldn't even show up. He knows he's not going to do nothing. I mean, you get $120,000 for finishing last. 6 more of those, and then those guys, their season is over. Now the Department of Justice is looking into antitrust allegations, and the possibility that the PGA is in violation of antitrust laws by banning these players that join the Live Tour from being on their tour. Now it's their tour. Can they make any rules they want? I would think no.
Yeah.
If Major League Baseball has a rule that, which they did for a while, no black players. I mean, can they stop them from enforcing that? I guess now they might be able to on equality issues, but can't the PGA Tour make whatever requirements it wants to play on their tour? Why would they be subjected to antitrust rules? Because a guy can go play golf somewhere else. It's not like there are on other tours. They can join a European tour. They can go on this Corn Ferry tour. What exactly is Corn Ferry? What does that represent? Corn Ferry. It's KORN Ferry.
That's a great question.
The name of the kind of second level tour was the Hooters tour for a while. And, it's kind of the minor leagues for the PGA. Corn Ferry. What does that represent? Is that a company? Corn Ferry? Not sure.
It's Corn Ferry. I don't know.
But how can you say that the PGA Tour, excluding guys that have signed up for another league, are in violation of antitrust? These guys are playing somewhere, aren't they?
You're not stopping them from working. Yeah, I don't know.
Seems a little bit absurd.
Zalatoris. Zalatoris is one that might be interesting. That's Zalatoris, and he's getting decent.
Zalatoris, but who hits the ball low and straight? Low,
like shit. I don't know.
And straight.
Jordan
Corey
Speed.
Pavin, man, is he in this thing? As a Corey Pavin, right? Low and straight. You don't have to hit the big ball, I don't think. Can you outdrive this course like DeChambeau? You can't outdrive these British Open courses. I don't know. I mean, I'm not totally familiar with Royal Troon in terms of distance and degree of difficulty of the various shots. I know that road hole is kind of a crazy one. That's 17, right? The road hole, and everybody's always on the road. I don't know how that happens. It's kind of like that little trough that's in front of 15 at the Masters. And you're thinking, these are pro golfers, man. They're never going to hit that in that little tiny tributary that's right in front of the green there. And sure enough, every ball goes right in there.
Right there, yeah.
Kerplunk. I don't know. I don't know which way I'm going to go. I mean, you would think McIlroy's in good form, so why wouldn't he play well at the British Open? I would think. I don't know. Jordan Spieth, he's won a British Open, although it was under some very fugazi circumstances, just as the professor.
Yeah,
The professor did get hosed on that. I mean, that was the worst. He has, like, Matt Kuchar at 50-1, and Kuchar's right there. And then I had Spieth at 14-1. And that was the most favorable ruling I've ever seen in any sport given to an individual player. Spieth is literally on one of those things like, when you drive on Sample Road here in South Florida and, you see all of these birds, all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, good, I'm by the beach. And it turns out it's that big garbage dump.
Dumpster, yeah. The hill.
He was in something that looked like that, behind a rock, and with no chance to even get anywhere near the ball. And somehow that they had a ruling that his shot was inhibited by like a TV tower that was a mile away, and they allowed him to drop the ball clean in the fairway.
In the fairway?
It seemed like it, didn't it? I mean, all of a sudden, he's just absolutely in the clear, hits the green, and Kuchar shanks his shot, and that's it. Tournament over. But that was among the favorites, though, 14-1 on Jordan Spieth in that particular tournament. He was in, rare form at that time, and I don't know that he's come back to that, even though he's shown some signs of life. I don't know. Who would you go with? I mean, John Rahm? I mean, do we go with this guy again?
Like a Rahm or a Zalatoris, something like that.
Zalatoris at least has some sex appeal to it because he hasn't won a major tournament yet, and he has been knocking on the door. Very, very competitive in these major tournaments. I'm looking forward to it, though, and I'm hoping that, this was disappointing, seeing that the weather is not going to be as rank as I usually enjoy.
It'll be nice out.
Yeah.
It's going to be sunny and clear.
I really do. I want it to look like a scene out of Deadliest Catch, right? Where you're saying, these guys are on a fucking boat in this to catch fish. I have new respect every time I order a crab cake. After binge watching Deadliest Catch for the last 3 weeks.
For this.
Imagine it. Yeah. Guy loses an arm. I mean, one guy fell into the drink on one of the episodes I was watching the other day. Man, he got 10 seconds in there, and then he's a dead man. They're running around. There's ice on the deck. I mean, imagine falling into the Bering Sea.
Oh, my God.
The dead of winter. Never good. You got a little raincoat on? I mean, forget about that.
Like a slicker.
All right, so it's going to be too nice for me to enjoy the British Open, huh? 8% chance of rain. What would Peter Alice have to say? It's just a lovely day out here for tea and crumpets and perhaps a little bit of golf.
I wouldn't know what to say.
He's great.
He'd probably be confused.
The guy that got in the jackpot out of the British accent was Ben Wright. Remember that guy? Ben Wright? Kind of a hefty guy that, and unfortunately, he made some unflattering comments about like Big Mama on the women's golf tour. And, he said that she might have difficulty seeing her putt over her rather large
gut
and ample chest. No, it wasn't.
Gut.
I mean, when you're implying that tits are an inhibiting factor in a woman's golf shot, you're probably not going to last much longer on the LPGA Tour coverage. Maybe he wanted off of it anyway. He just said,
this is bullshit.
He said to Gary McCord, "Watch this, Gary. You think you're irreverent?"
Yeah, exactly.
I'm getting out of here, man. Kind of like when Freddie Pacheco walked out on me when he was, opposed to calling women's boxing. And in the middle of the show, you see the guy get up and you think, what is he going to the bathroom? And he says, "I won't call this fight. It's a disgrace."
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
It's like, we've called worse than this, Freddie.
Now you have standards?
We covered the worst boxer ever on that same series. Right?
That's
where that came from. What do you think? I mean, are you excited about this Major League Baseball All Star game? The game's kind of become dull.
When is it? Is it this weekend? When is the All Star game?
Next week.
Okay, so it's next week.
It'll be next Tuesday night, right? You have the Home Run Derby on Monday, the All Star game on Tuesday, and then what Eddie Kaplan used to call Black Wednesday, now dominated by the WNBA.
It's like
did they finish their championship? Is their seat? No, they just had their All Star game. So
I thought they just
remember how weird that was that one year where all of a sudden you had like every WNBA team scheduled.
Yeah, that one guy used to call us the boss. The one guy would call us and give us WNBA plays.
Imagine, first quarter WNBA over-unders. I think that takes precedent, over, and it would be more favorable to and desirable to bet than NBA Summer League.
Summer League, yeah.
Where I'm watching Jabari Smith just chuck up brick after brick.
He looks like shit.
But what happens if you're the GM and you go to Summer League and you watch your number one pick that you were like, we're so insane that, wow, this guy fell to number 3, and then he's just shooting line drive bricks the entire time from 3-point range. Turnovers, they're always trying to get him the ball. Guy comes up, easily stops him from making any move to the basket. I don't know. Would that drive you a little bit batty there, as in Earl Batty, the great catcher?
Like, it doesn't matter. Summer League doesn't matter, but it is like Banchero's playing really well. Holmgren's played well. Jovic for the Heat randomly has played well. So then you see Smith.
This guy looks like a superstar, Libby. What are you talking about?
I know Jovic.
What a find for Pat Riley and the Miami Heat. And Jovic.
This guy Smith is supposed to be the end all. He's like ass. He's looked really bad.
Yeah, it's Banchero. They're not even going to play him anymore. Well, I mean, what is the point? Wouldn't you think that the whole thing was to give an incoming rookie a feel for the game? And you would want to highlight and showcase your number one pick, maybe. What is the thinking, that you don't want a guy to get hurt? Then why play anybody?
Well, he's looked good, so it's like, okay, cool. We got what we need from him. That's not Smith. They're like, go play, go play. Smith.
Oh, he had a green light, man. It was like giving Lou Brock the open steel sign, right? Listen, Ricky, you run anytime you want to. Exactly. And even if we told you not to, we know you're going to do whatever you want anyway, because you're on another planet there. Unbelievable. All right, that's going to be fun. I don't know. Are you still into the home run derby? I think they really badly need to change the format of the home run derby.
Acuna.
Alonso is going for 3 in a row. Pete Alonso.
Is he still playing baseball? I didn't even realize Pete Alonso was. I haven't heard his name.
No, Alonso's doing great with the Mets. He's got like 20 home runs this year. The Mets are in first place.
There you go.
No, he's doing fine, Alonso, and he loves it. He doesn't go with the whole notion that, wow, this is going to ruin my swing for the rest of the season. How could it, when that's all anybody wants anymore is home runs or nothing? They don't care if you strike out 500 times a season. So it can't ruin your swing. It does seem a little bit arduous when a guy comes back for the 3rd round, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, now
they have to.
They go
yeah, I mean, first couple of guys get up there and they're fresh, and a guy goes out, hits like 21 in the first round, and you're thinking, wow, that's fantastic. But then he has to like wait a while and then get up and do the whole thing again.
That's my favorite, when they're like, he hasn't hit for an hour and 45 minutes. It's like, what the fuck?
I mean, you cool off a little bit, right? Go out there and play a couple of sets of tennis and then come back like 3 hours later and try to play the 3rd. It happens, but
like, that's
not necessarily a favorable development. That's for sure. But, in this type of event, it seems almost cruel and unusual to make these guys go to the 3rd round, doesn't it?
Yep.
They definitely, I don't know, did they shorten it up? I'm not sure. I know they changed the format a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if it's more favorable to the idea that, everybody's in there, A, with a fair shot, and B, is not going to be, dying because, or go into some horrendous slump as soon as they come back into action because they're worn out from participating in the home run derby. But, Pujols, I didn't realize he was that close to 700 home runs. You think he sticks around there? This has to be his last year, no? Remember when the Marlins were considering, supposedly, that was a story, that the Marlins were in the running, or going to make a bid for Albert Pujols when he was about to sign that 10-year deal, which you thought, is he really going to give you 10 years? I mean, how unwise of a move did that turn out to be? That would have been typical, that we would have been saddled with the contract of Albert Pujols. But, it's not like he's dead yet. They haven't thrown sand on his body.
42? Albert Pujols is 42 right now?
Can he hit 16 more homers and get to 700?
Oh, my
It's
God.
an interest. I'm going to say no to that. What do you think, Libby? Under 700 for Albert Pujols, career ending. I mean, unless he plays like another 5 years, which
he may play until he gets there. I mean, he
You
may
think?
just do it. Yeah, he might have an open. The Cardinals feel bad, and isn't he back with the Cardinals or something?
He's back
So
with the Cards. Yeah,
they
it's a
may
big thing.
just, he's there, so they may just trot him out like Haslam, like the Heat are begging him to play, even though he hasn't played in like 5 years. Maybe they'll just.
Ronald Acuna Jr. is in it also.
Acuna
The
Jr.
Braves
is
superstar.
yeah.
Yeah. So he's in Soto, who knocked out Ohtani last year in the home run derby. How come I know so much about the home run derby? Because I just read a little article about it. Naturally, the Met fans are wild for Pete Alonso. I don't know. Does he do it again? That's pretty interesting. He would have to be the favorite, no? 2-time defending champion, Lubie, and he's the guy that genuinely digs it the most. Nobody posing for home runs more than Pete Alonso now, right? He hits one off the wall. He's lucky to make it to first base because he's standing there, gesturing and gesticulating and doing all kinds of antics at home plate, which is typical, in vogue in Major League Baseball today. What happened to the concept too, Lubie? Now, I remember playing and thinking, I don't care where I hit the ball, I am running as hard as I can. You're only doing this like 4 or 5 times a game. So even if I hit like a bullet of a ground ball right to the shortstop, I was going to run as fast as I could to first base.
Oh yeah,
as fast as I could every time. I just make it close.
Yeah,
make the guy think that, hey, you know what? I have to make a good throw here because this guy's digging for it. He's not taking his time.
Yeah, that's what you're talking.
A pop-up. I mean, do you run all out on a pop-up? It seems like you're frustrated. Yeah, you throw the bat in disgust.
I run.
But in the Red Sox game last night, they were playing the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Red Sox shortstop dropped a pop-up in the infield. And I thought, wow, that guy should be on second base. And he was only on first. And I thought, see, now shouldn't he have been flying around the bases?
Yep. Why not?
No?
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore, right? That's a big complaint of my man Phil Mushnick in the New York Post, that guys don't run to first base. They stand there at home plate admiring, what could be a potential home run and turn surefire doubles into singles and sometimes maybe even what could have been a triple into a single. And it seems defiant of anything that you would consider a common and proper concept of the way to play baseball. You know what I noticed, too? The Rays, who are always a remarkable team, and they won 10-5 last night over the Red Sox, so Alex Cora was not a happy man there. And they have a lot of guys that are, like, hitting for average. Is there – how come there's no movement to go in the old Defo philosophy, which is that batting average is really among the ultimate measuring sticks? You could have all the sabermetrics and all of the different mathematical permutations that you want. If a guy's hitting 300, chances are he's going to, come through with something positive more often than some guy that's, going to hit the occasional home run in about 187, which you see today. How are starters hitting in the 180s? Well, holy choo-choo Coleman, man. The Marlins starting catcher was one of their big free agent acquisitions. He seems to be doing a good job, defensively, but he's hitting 187. How is he starting? We don't have anybody else that could do better than that. You're getting 187 and 3 home runs from the catcher position.
That's pathetic. And they were supposed to be getting better at the catcher position.
No wonder they never make it over 500. A lifeless loss last night. I couldn't even watch it, Lubie. The Marlins going down to the Pirates 5-1. Watch out for the Orioles, though. Did they extend their streak? I'm not sure if they played last night. The Orioles, who have been awful forever, have they not? Once credited with being one of the most solid, fundamentally run organizations in sports, right? Remember, they got the ballpark there, and they signed all their young guys, and everybody was in love with the Orioles, and they were playing great baseball, and then they went into the tank.
Yeah,
for how many years now? 20 years?
Yeah, the whole 2000s. The 90s with Ripken, and the 80s, they were great, and then the whole 2000s to now. They didn't play yesterday. The Orioles didn't play yesterday.
Oh, okay. Because I think they've won like 8 in a row, and they're above 500, which I find very, very shocking. You're usually expecting, they're bottom dwellers there in the American League East or at or near the bottom, but that's saying a lot considering that the Yankees are having this phenomenal season. But boy, it's really a stretch too. Sometimes having the right sports today would be talk sports. Couple of things struck me. CBSSports.com has an article today. Is it time for a change in the power rankings in Major League Baseball because the Yankees have dropped 4 of their last 7? And they're trying to make a case that the Dodgers are a better team right now. The Yankees have a run differential over their opponents this year of 177. They've outscored their opponents by 177 runs, far and away the best. And so I don't know that it's time to make that change. And here, you love this stuff, Lubie, the topical sports debate, contrived debate. So I saw this. I was watching Sports Center a couple of nights ago, when I was in Atlantic City. I turned on the news there, and I see this scrolling across the bottom of the screen there. Who is under more pressure this year because of the Devontae Adams trade? Is it Derek Carr because he now has Adams? Or is it
Rogers?
Aaron Rodgers, because he doesn't have Adams?
Do the dumbest.
Who is under? How would you decide that? I mean, how would you formulate an opinion on that? Who is under more pressure now because Devontae Adams went to the Raiders? The guy that acquired him, and now is he under pressure all of a sudden to make something happen? I mean, they're saying that about your man Tua. If you ask 100 people how to pronounce Tua's last name, do you think you would get the same answer twice? And what are we going to go with? Tanga Vailoa? Vailoa. Is that the correct pronunciation? Tanga Vailoa.
That's what.
Not Vailoa. I always put, I
do the same thing.
Frank Viola. I always throw that in there. Yeah. I always want to throw a little Viola in there. But it's Vailoa. And remember, it was a shock when Steinberg came by the Radio Row booth that we had and said, oh, no, you don't pronounce it like that. It's like Tanga Vailoa. You're like, what? Yes. Where's the NG? Get out of here. Unbelievable. And we're thinking, the guy, you're his agent, Lee Steinberg, and he doesn't know how to pronounce a kid's name. Sure enough. I mean, I don't know that anybody does. I was thinking about that. We should do a little survey and just pop it up here on the show. And just arbitrarily ask people on the street. This could be your Lubie Hits the Streets thing, Man on the Street, with Mike Lubie Lubitz.
Or Lubie. I'm like every show.
And we put together 100 pronunciations of Tua Tagovailoa and see if any of them come out the same. No? We could hold up a sign with the name on it. What do you think? I mean, is he under pressure this year because they signed all these guys? Yeah, of course. But how would you decipher whether Aaron Rodgers was facing more pressure than Derek Carr because of the Devontae Adams deal? Aaron Rodgers obviously could easily say, hey, you know what? They took away my best receiver, typical Green Bay Packer, mangled management, and I don't want to play here anymore. In fact, I'm going back to Danica Patrick.
Oh, that was another one that Ken was like, we could trade. He's like, I used to love Aaron
Danica Patrick?
No. He's like,
Rodgers.
What's wrong with Rodgers? He's like, that's another
He's a sick man, yeah.
Wow. We could trade Aaron Rodgers for Griner.
You could make a case, though, that there should be ultimate sympathy for Aaron Rodgers and that he was a bigger daredevil than either Evel Knievel or one of my all-time favorites, Joey Chitwood, the thrill driver who was featured in many commercials for automotive. What was it? I mean, I guess it was for safety of cars, right?
Yeah.
Because he was testing all these cars to see what their ability to survive crashes was. And they're thinking, how does his wife send him off to work every day? Gives him a little tuna sandwich in a bag and goes, okay, Joey, have a nice day. The guy's job is going to be to drive into brick walls and a test site. Joey Chitwood. But you would have to say that Aaron Rodgers was more of a thrill driver than either Knievel or Chitwood, and maybe combined, because of the fact that he would drive around with Danica Patrick, who never completed a lap without crashing her race car. So what was she like in regular, ordinary traffic where people are shooting at you and they're cutting you off? They're stopping abruptly right in front of you, even though there's no light there and you're not even anywhere near the intersection. All of a sudden, like a jitney bus on University Drive when I first came here, that thing just stops in the middle of the road and lets a couple of people off. It's crazy. All right, having a lot of fun. And we're going to talk a little bit later on in the program here about the 72 team. I thought it was appropriate to bring that up today. No, I didn't. Lubie just told me we have a guy that wrote a book about the 72 team called 17-0, and his name is Marshall John Fisher. So it'd be interesting to explore that, of course, because it involves your Miami Dolphins, who I still think have they amended that over-under number? Where is it at right now? Over-under number on the Miami Dolphins for the season. I don't know how. If it's still 8 and a hook, my God, Lubie, how do you not consider that you would take the over on that? A 17-game season now. See, that's the thing. It hasn't really clicked in that these are 17-game totals, not even 16. At a 16-game season, I would take the Dolphins to win 9 games this year, at least.
Yep.
A 17-game season, I have to think that they do it easily, no? So where am I wrong on this? What do you think? How bad is it going to be? 5-11?
Their schedule's
No,
tough.
5-12 now.
The schedule's tough, and the AFC's tough. So that's what people are thinking. But okay, they're also better. So that makes sense to me.
How could they not be somewhat on a par with the Bills, except at the quarterback position? What do you think? I mean, they can't beat the Bills one time this year.
I think they can. I think people are writing it off, like just assuming the Bills will annihilate them. Like the Dolphins have improved at every.
The Jets are still in their division. Last time I checked, New York Jets, 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 suck, right?
Exactly. I don't know. I think it'll be an interesting year. I'm super. I know Drunken Jimmy sort of scared us a little because he's like Mr. Dolphin, and he was very apathetic, and very like, But
he was looking at the schedule also, which I don't know. I mean, I guess that would be an important consideration if you're. I mean, do we have to get Segreto to go through the schedule with us when he comes on tomorrow? What do you think?
There you go.
Have to get Tony to do his whole thing. That's a win. I tell you what, look at that. September 16th. Tickets still available, by the way, here. And you can watch the post-game show on WTVJ. And I think they could beat the Jaguars that day. Okay, that's 1-1, Tony. What else we got? Poor Tony. I mean, that probably wasn't his idea. Wouldn't that be the last thing that you would want to do if you're a TV sportscaster, trying to predict game by game before the season started what the Dolphins' schedule was going to look like? Run down the whole schedule and pick whether they were going to win or lose that week? I don't know. You can't win, can you? You can't win, Rock. These was good fighters. Unbelievable. All right, we'll explore a little of that, but I don't know. That's a baffling number to me. I can't believe the pessimism about the Miami Dolphins from the odds makers who, let's face it, they're not out there to lose money.
No.
You make a bunch of bad lines. I don't know that Steve Wynn is going to be thinking, hey, you know what we really need to do? We need to give a raise to the sportsbook manager. Get the fuck out of here. What is this bogus line? 8.5. Got to be kidding me. All right, we're coming back with more, and we will talk about the 17-0 Miami Dolphins from 1972 with Marshall John Fisher, who wrote a book about the perfect season. It's always great, to think back that it's hard to imagine that this was the only team ever to accomplish that in NFL history. It really is. Now, there are more games now. Yep. The New England Patriots, they would have had to go 19-0 that year to have a perfect season?
They went 18-0.
When they lost to the Giants?
And finished 18-1.
Came within an eyelash, but did win more games without a loss than the Miami Dolphins did in 72.
Yes.
So, I mean, there are certain, parentheses that you need to put around just about everything of this nature. But hard to imagine that nobody's ever been able to do it, right? There have been some really dominant teams. 85 Bears team, they were unbelievable. Yep. How'd they lose a game? To the Dolphins, ironically. Yep.
There you go.
So there's something there. There's something kind of mystical and cosmic about the 17-0 Dolphins, including what people eventually regarded as sort of an obnoxious celebration, although I kind of dug it, right? That the remaining 72 Dolphin players would all get together and have a big toast, a champagne toast, when the last undefeated team fell out of the ranks of having no losses and clinched their legacy for yet another season. I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool, no? Everybody around the country sort of resented that, right? I loved seeing a Merc with a bottle of champagne.
I loved it.
It's fantastic. Yeah, Manny Fernandez, all of those guys. And they were really immersed into the fabric of the South Florida community. Yep. And had been and still have been for many, many years, which is a quality and a characteristic you don't see exhibited by many pro sports teams anymore.
No.
As much as like the Miami Heat are community-minded, which I believe that they are, to whatever extent they need to be. But I believe that the Heat players and, management have some kind of affinity for the local society and, the human condition here. But do you really see a lot of Heat players out and about and like doing things? I mean, you don't, right? It's not like the 72 Dolphins who were everywhere, right? You run into them at the grocery store. They're doing this, they're doing that. Always at some kind of event. And, that was a very unusual characteristic of this team that I remember thinking, wow, I mean, how is it that all of these, superstars from the 72 team, when I came here in 81, are still very, very prominent figures?
Yep.
Part of it might have to do with the fact that they were the only team in town at that time. And in 1981, even the Hurricanes really hadn't come to their level of prominence where they were in the spotlight a lot. All right, we'll come back with a lot more. A lot of good comments on the chat line. We always appreciate that. And, very informative stuff, too. Julian coming up with stats and all kinds of things. I mean, who would even recognize the name Van Ruin? much less know that he was 175 to 1 to win the thing. Is this a sign from the gods, Lubie, that we should be listening? Right? $100 gets us back $17,500 on Van Rooyen if he wins the British Open.
He's not going to win.
Is it possible? Right? He's a European schmink, nondescript, fits the bill. Not going to happen, right?
No.
All right, so you've actually been fairly accurate, but you are Chalk City when it comes to golf selections, Lubie.
So Scheffler's like a huge favorite. Scheffler like
Scotty Scheffler, I would imagine, is among the favorites. I mean, look, the guy's been dynamite all year long. He's the number one player in the world. I would think. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to figure. Mayo would probably have a better idea about this. So whose game equates out to the course there, the St. Andrews course? Now Tiger has played well there. Did he win one of his British Opens there? I think he won 2 British Opens. One at St. Andrews.
Oh yeah, no, he likes St. Andrews. Yeah,
loves it. Yeah, no, all golfers. That was one of the themes of the article. I guess it was the main theme of the article that Canizaro wrote, was that this is the most fabled golf course and everybody loves it. So we'll see. Phil, no chance, I would think. Did one of the Live Tour guys win this? That's very possible, no? Your man Weisty. I think Weisty's finished, no?
I don't know. I was trying to reach for like hardcore European schmink names. And Weisty always like pops in my head.
Does some unknown come out of the woodwork like Jean Van de Velde did that one year?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Greatest finish to a golf tournament ever, the Van de Velde meltdown. No? I would think, yeah. I mean, he's standing there, and I just remember that little caddy who looked like he came out of some European circus. And he's running up to Van de Velde and saying, "No, not driver." And Jean, the distinguished Frenchman who's never won shit, gets up there and whacks a driver into the. I mean, I don't know where he was. Some kind of muck. His next shot goes into the drink. Then remember, he had his pants rolled up above his knee, and he's standing in the water there, and he shanks another one. And somehow, even though he had a 3-shot lead, he still ends up in a 3-man shake for a playoff, and ends up losing the playoff. I think he lost it on the first hole, but nonetheless, I mean, he still had a shot to redeem himself, and then forever fell into a level of infamy that I don't know that he ever recovered from. See, did he care? Right? I mean, when you blow your big moment of fame, did Kyrgios kind of do the same thing? I mean, with a meltdown, this wasn't a mental breakdown. It was just pure physical stupidity. He could have taken his putter out, hit it off the tee, hit it about 100 yards down the fairway, and been in better shape than he was with his driver. And instead, and the caddy's begging him, "Here, no, hit this ladies 7-wood that I have in my bag." Anything but that. Just hit it straight, you French freak. All right, we're coming back with more. Hialeah Park, always a great place to go, always in consideration. Mike Mayo tells us, I thought it was Friday. I guess it's Thursday that Saratoga opens up. I should know that.
Nice.
But, yeah, wow, so it's sooner than later. And what a great place to punch away on all of the Saratoga races. Hialeah Park in the champion simulcasting room, just perfectly appointed. And then you feel like you're there, Lubie. See, I don't know that you need to schlep all the way to Albany on some like Allegiant Airlines flight and then rent a car, which, we're out of the economy. Where, at that Albany airport, are they not making a fortune just telling people that all they have are like Cadillacs to drive to Saratoga there? And now, what are you going to do? I mean, you're stuck with this car for a couple of days, even though you're not going to necessarily be driving all over town. It's a schlep. And then you can go to Hialeah, punch on all those races, and have everything right there in front of you, and especially if you're a screen-to-screen player. You don't have to go running all over the place like you do at Saratoga, although they have those outdoor monitors kind of on a little carousel of sorts. I don't know what you would call it, but, and they actually, they do a clever thing there where they have like a shade covering over the TVs so you can see what the hell's going on at Monmouth Park and the other tracks. But much better setup. I mean, and you don't have to do all the schlepping right there at Hialeah Park. Because you can look outside there, go out on a balcony, look outside, see the backside, and you can actually, looking over the Citation statue there and thinking about all the great racehorses that competed there and the many tremendous Flamingo Stakes that took place. And it's right up there in a par, the Saratoga to the south, Hialeah Park. So you have all of that atmosphere and the chance to punch away to your heart's content without having to worry about crowds and things like that because they have plenty of live tellers and then self-betting machines. I mean, why not have as many as you can? And that's what they do at Hialeah Park. You don't have to sit there. Hey, Jack, you're going to be punching 10-cent superfectas the rest of your life, you asshole? No, none of that. You just walk right up there, make your bet, and you don't care about a thing. It's great. Poker room is fantastic. And, of course, the casino has all your favorite Vegas-style games, great food and drink, great atmosphere, great place to have a private party, and always tremendous special events, including the many episodes of El Boxeo, which we're still waiting on news of the next event there. I'm hoping that continues.
I'm ready for it. It was a blast.
Wow. How much fun, yeah. I mean, a great view of boxing also. If you're a boxing fan, you hadn't been to a live event, you definitely want to check that out next time they do it at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more here in a moment. The Defo Show on a Tuesday. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, South Florida Live is where you find us. The link, I've been giving that out, Lubie, but you don't even need the link
because if you subscribe, it's like my buddy did it the other day. He's like, yeah, you popped up. I was like, yeah, because you subscribe. So if you subscribe, then you don't have to look for us. It just pops up. Like it'll pop up on your phone and then you can just watch it, or it'll pop up on your computer and you can just watch it. So if you use the link and subscribe, it's easier, but you don't have to have the link. Like you can just go to YouTube, search South Florida Live, YouTube, search the Defo Show with the Lubie, Google South Florida Live, Google the Defo Show with the Lubie, and you'll find us because we have a good amount of content now.
Is it always out to conkers like me that say, nah, I don't know how to do any of that shit?
No, everyone. I mean, it's hard. We've moved a couple times and it's been, you're used to just turning on the radio. So I get it. It's a little different, but you can find us. And when you do, you'll have us and it's a lot better. It's going to keep getting better.
I believe so. I really do. And of course, you can catch Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 12 o'clock.
Lunchbox now.
Mayo is, at the studio today, his own studio, of course. But tomorrow will be at the Even Keel Fish Shack. I'd love to see some people come out and join us there for the Lunchbox. Get to see Lubie eat, which is always a lot of fun. Although you're very attentive to the mechanics of the show.
Yes.
When we're out on these remotes here for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, always enjoy going down to Even Keel. Brad and Dave, they own the place, and Brad's a big fan, big sports fan. His dad was a big fan of the show.
Yeah, that was classic.
Lubie, yeah. I mean, when a guy is thrilled to meet Lubie, you have to figure, well, that's a big fan. You're Lubie? I always love that reaction. I'm very proud of you, kid, and I always love it when somebody acknowledges that you're Lubie, and then you don't know what they're going to say next.
That's my fear.
It's either, where'd you get that voice, or you don't look like you sound.
It's both. I get both.
Those are the first two common reactions to meeting Mike Lubie Lubitz. Right. I for some reason, get a kick out of just people in general, so, I particularly enjoy that. Because I'm always betting in my head, what's he going to say? Where'd you get that voice? Or
why do you
don't look anything like you sound. Now, if somebody tells you you look just like you sound, should you take that as a compliment? Because how do you know what they think about how you sound?
That's what I'm saying. I would take that as a negative.
No, hey, you look just like you sound. Yeah, jerk off. It's crazy, man.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my. All right. Anyway, we're coming back with more, and Mike will be with us. I'm coming out there too, Even Keel Fish Shack, and then Thursday on a Lunchbox, which is great. Nikki Mohan, who is fantastic, man. I mean, she is just great. Adds a different dynamic altogether to the show, and she's out there at various places with Mike, and you're on those as well. Now, I kind of just sit there and stare at the camera the whole time. So am I? Am I finally cut loose from that Thursday obligation? Because if I'm not there, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go, hey, what do you think, Defo? What would you order if you were here?
Well, the thing is, and that they've actually
I'd have the spaghetti. Yeah.
started a good format where it used to just be like they would have the owner on for like 5 minutes. But what they've done now, and it makes a lot of sense, is if you're at a place, you want to be a part of it. And the owners so far have been really entertaining and really interesting. And with the video component, like, why not have Nikki, who's done this forever, Mayo, who's actually, good at talking to proprietors, and the owner. So for you, I said, I'm like, there's no reason for Defo to be there. Like
zero. Yeah.
It's okay, Defo.
Begging off the Thursday show. No, I enjoy the show. I would rather listen to it.
Yeah, just
sit here staring into space. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll be on about. I hope you people come out. Come on out and join us there at the Even Keel Fish Shack. I can't guarantee you that anything is going to come your way as a result.
Oh, I don't know.
Because you're on your own on that.
Yeah.
Separate checks, please. We get separate checks, and we're on the crew.
We do.
Good place, though. You know what? I'm craving ceviche. They have a nice ceviche there. at the Even Keel Fish Shack. And then Brad always brings out something that he's introducing as a new entree.
Some crazy thing.
Which always goes to Mayo's table. Have you noticed that?
It's like annoying.
Hey, what about us? Hey? And then Mayo, after he's finished, like all of a sudden, you're waiting for the, like you are Pip Pirip. You're waiting for scraps from the big guy. He goes, yeah, you guys want to try a piece of this? Okay, thanks, Mike. Unbelievable. I'm glad he came up with Peter Ellis, though. That's one of the good things. Anyway, that's a lot of fun. It's going to be 12 o'clock today on South Florida Live. We're coming back with more. We'll talk a little 72 Fins in just a few minutes here on the show. I'm Jeff DeForest. He's Mike Lubie Lubitz. Tomorrow, Tony Segreto goes old school with us. I would imagine, Tony, did he get into, you must have gotten into a lot of Hank tribute type stuff. Yeah.
Talked a lot of Hank, yeah, because he and Hank.
Boy, Tony and Hank were. Yeah. They were just absolutely as close as you could possibly get. Tony's good friends with everybody pretty much because everybody loves Tony. But, who wouldn't, right? Guy's a very positive individual. But they were very, very tight together there, Tony and Hank Goldberg. In fact, Tony was on, and I tried to tape this. I wanted to see this tribute. NBC 6 here in town in South Florida had their Sports Extra was going to be a tribute to Hank. And one of the things I noticed in some of the tributes I had seen is that I didn't realize how much TV work Hank actually did. He was on like everything. And I knew him pretty much, you think of Hank as a sports talk radio guy, no?
Yep.
But he was all over a lot of different stuff on TV. And, it didn't necessarily strike you physically and even with his approach as a guy that would be like a big TV guy. Mm. It probably worked even more now than it did then. Where now it's good to just attack everybody.
Arguing, yeah.
Yep. Right? I mean, imagine, I don't know, where would he weigh in on that argument? Who's under more pressure, Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers?
No clue.
What kind of stupidity is that, Libby? Honestly. Imagine it. That's something a program director would come to you and say, hey, you know what? I saw a topic the other day on TV. I think you guys ought to get into it today. You might get some calls for a change.
But the other day, I was watching one of them, and I'm like, I feel for these producers. Like,
oh my God,
these stupid ass things. And I'm like, Defo weeded that out of me like 12 years ago. I'm like, so it literally boggles my mind to even try and think about some stupid ass argument that means nothing and no one gives a shit about. Who cares?
Like, yeah. Well, look, I mean, anybody that's on a team, you would like to have better assets, no?
Well, duh.
If you're, in a position like quarterback on a football team, would it not be nice to have the so-called arsenal of weapons, if you will, with all due respect to the war in the Ukraine, that, the Miami Dolphins have put around Tua Tagovailoa?
Well, that's the thing. It's trying. Well, is this too much?
Instead of a bunch of schleps, yeah.
I think he'd rather this. I think he'd rather this than fucking Devontae Parker dropping 6 balls and Williams and Ahmed at running back. Yeah, he'd probably rather this.
Yeah, give me a couple of fast guys that know how to bust through a hole.
This is bad.
And, guys that can catch. There's a concept.
It's like
an offensive line that isn't just a human sieve. Incredible.
He got Durant. Uh-oh. Is that too much? It's like, what? How do you make it negative out of getting LeBron?
Imagine that. Yeah, they were worried that somebody actually wrote. I think it was a guy in town here. I don't want to say it was Greg Cody. Because, he was already on the hook for that Scott Mitchell Marino thing, which, I don't know. I mean, that's one of those deals that you never live down if you have an opinion that poor. I guess you can get away with it. I mean, your overall body of work eventually overcomes the fact that you expressed something that was as stupid as any thought in the history of sports analysis. But I remember somebody saying that giving up Caron Butler was like, oh, my God, can you believe it?
For Shaq, yeah, when they got Shaq.
For Shaq.
Oh, no, that trade, people bitched. People were like, well, look at the chemistry they have. Yeah, but it's Shaq.
Shaq.
The chemistry?
He's going to cement your chances of winning a championship, even though Zoe was even more responsible for it in an improbable role coming back from a kidney transplant, for God's. Did he have a kidney transplant and come back? Zoe?
I know he had some kind of a kidney with disease. I don't know if they actually did the transplant. I know it was a whole thing. But it's just whatever. These debates are funny. It's like
they're stupid. No, this one is as far-fetched as anything I've ever seen. Like on what basis do you debate that on?
Like, so Carr's mad that they got Adams? Is that what you're saying? Like, his Carr's supposed to be stressed out? Oh, my God, they gave me talent.
Oh, my God, now what am I going to do? I couldn't complete a pass last year.
Like, isn't that
now
a
I've got this guy. I wonder if it happens again. And Aaron Rodgers, who looks like he could give a flying one about
He's like
anything anymore,
anyway.
right? I mean, does he give a shit? I know he's competitive. He probably wants to go out there and win a championship, whatever. But, he couldn't have been happy that they got rid of this guy. He loved him.
He doesn't care.
And what was his big beef with the Packers? It was over personnel and the fact that he was not somebody. I would imagine the salary cap was the big consideration there, though. No, Lubie? I mean, was it not possible for Green Bay to accommodate Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers now that they're paying him like $100 million a year?
Well, that's what it is. They wanted to keep Adams. They just couldn't give him the kind of money that the Raiders
Right. There you go. There you have it. What happened to Mike Mayock, by the way? He's long gone.
Yeah, he's done. He was a disaster.
Has he surfaced anywhere? This was a know-it-all. I mean, it would be like giving Jay Billis a GM job in the NBA. Jay Billis.
I'm sure you will.
Knows everything, right? Has his own language.
Yeah.
And, meanwhile, just buried the Las Vegas Raiders and sent them to Mike Tyson territory, Bolivian. Did you see this, by the way? Harvey Fialkov, our good friend Harvey, former Sun Sentinel writer, had on Facebook a picture of Mike Tyson sitting by a tennis court.
He looked old. He looked old and like haggard. But I was like, I think that's Tyson.
It was Mike Tyson, and Tyson apparently has a daughter that is a prominent junior tennis player here in Florida.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
That's crazy.
Didn't know that, did you?
Yeah,
that
people
could be
were like,
true false question. I wonder if Lenny Leader will get that correct if we ask it on Thursday on the Highland Park Trivia Challenge. True or false? Mike Tyson has a daughter in junior tennis that is ranked whatever she is in the world. And you would have to think, well, what are you, crazy? No way, right? Sitting there by the tennis courts, and Harvey was saying that he was doing a lot of coaching of his daughter, as you would imagine, right? I mean, it's like Bundini Brown yelling to Ali, come on, stick and move, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. So you figure like a guy in boxing is probably going to be inclined to go ahead and shout instructions out there. And coaching, of course, which is really weird. I would imagine it becomes, sort of intrusive if you had two coaches screaming constantly at players during the course of a game. But I never understood why tennis would even have coaching if the coach wasn't allowed to discuss strategy with a player during the course of a match.
Yeah, it's dumb. Don't even have a coach out there. Then why tempt them?
They just changed that rule, though, but I'm not sure what's permissible anymore. Apparently, whatever Tyson was doing wasn't, and Harvey had to make the decision whether to, ask Tyson to be quiet or leave.
And he did not. He said, yeah, I chose wisely and shut the fuck up.
Remember, Harvey, Mitch Blood Green. I'll leave you with 3 words. Mitch Blood Green.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of pissed off Tyson. There was also an interesting story. I didn't even realize this. Did you? And I don't know why I should have known this because it's been around since 2000. About the rift between Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah.
That it started over this article in Esquire magazine in the year 2000. An interview that took place with Rodriguez at a Heat game. And A-Rod quoted in the article as saying, well, you know what? I'm in a different position than Jeter. And they were like bosom buddies, right? Used to stay at each other's houses.
Yeah. Years ago.
And then it turned out that, A-Rod made all these disparaging remarks about how Jeter, what is he doing? He's batting second for the Yankees. What pressure is there? Try hitting third, fourth, or fifth, Derek, captain. And essentially said that, that Derek Jeter was on a joyride compared to him in terms of his, leadership capabilities and his, pressure to go ahead, if you will. I don't know. I don't like the word pressure so much because, really, how do you decipher who's under more pressure? They always do that. Well, who's the pressure on in Game 5 tonight?
Both teams.
It's on a team that's about to get eliminated, isn't it?
It's on both teams.
They're the ones facing it, right? I mean, well, why don't you just put a blindfold on these guys and give them the last drag on a cigarette? That's where they're facing, what they're facing. All right. I've been rambling here for like an hour and 20 minutes. So
a good job.
We have a guest to get to. And it really wasn't anything going on last night. That was the problem.
No, that's the thing. We actually go longer. We have less to talk about.
This is part of our pandemic broadcasting training where we talked for 7 months without a single sport being played.
Any sports, and it didn't phase us. We're like, it's tough. I'm like, what's tough? They're like doing shows. I'm like, oh, it is. Like, we did it in 4 hours. I don't know what we said, and it flew by.
Flew by, but I don't know that we accomplished anything of any particular significance. That's not our goal, though, on this show. It's just to get through it. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
17-0, man. Something. It's 8:20.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
I have sinned against you, my Lord.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Rambling dissertation there to start things out. Welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz with you here on South Florida Live. And it is the 50-year anniversary of our one moment of glory. Well, I guess we had two moments of glory with the Miami Dolphins. Of course, they came back the following year and won the Super Bowl with what many of the players that were on both of those teams, including the late, great Bob Kuechenberg, said was an even better team in 1973 than the undefeated team. I think they had a couple of losses that year and ended up like 15-2. But joining us right now is a gentleman, Marshall John Fisher, who has a book out about the 50-year anniversary and obviously about the team, the 72 team, called 17-0. Marshall, welcome to the program. Good to have you here on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, guys. Thanks. Good to be here.
Good morning.
Well, it's good to have you with us, and it is the 50-year anniversary of the 72 team. Unfortunately for us, it's also going to be the 49th anniversary of not winning a Super Bowl, I believe. So it's been kind of tough for the Dolphin fans, but it's incredible to think that nobody's been able to do this. I know there are more games being played now, but it is quite a sporting distinction, is it not? And in your research, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, 103 years now of the NFL. 53 years before them, nothing had happened, even with fewer games. And for 50 years now, it still hasn't been done.
How did nobody go 14-0 when they were, playing like a 12-game season and a couple of playoff games, to win the championship? All right. What were your thoughts? Because, I had a lot of experience with these guys, as has Mike Lubitz. They're still very prominent in town, the remaining members of the team. I worked for many years with a gentleman who became a very popular broadcaster with the Dolphins and, a very distinguished guy around town, Jim Mad Dog Mandich, and he was on that club as a young player. Kuechenberg, we were very friendly with. And, the thing that struck me, I moved to South Florida in 1981. These players were very prominent and still very much entrenched in community affairs and things that were going on. Naturally beloved, and they sort of remain so even today, which, we don't have that kind of tradition with any other sport here in South Florida, but these were very beloved individuals and for the most part seemed to be a very noble crew.
Yeah, it was a remarkable group of men on that team. And, I was 9 years old in Miami during that season, and it always just stuck with me. And I think with anyone who grew up in Miami at that time, this to have had this team and this achievement of the perfect season, it just you remember it and you wonder if it was just nostalgia that makes you think they were this incredible group. And that's one of the things I was interested in researching this book, to find out just who these guys were. And it turned out they really were an unusual and remarkably talented group, and not just great athletes, which of course they were, but they were a very intelligent group. They later became a doctor, several lawyers, very successful businessmen, politicians. They were, and as you say, very involved in the community. So it really was a unique group of individuals, and I think that's partly what made for the perfect season.
A wide variety of individuals, also. I mean, everything from Jake
Yeah.
Scott to Dick Anderson. I mean,
yeah,
you really ran a full spectrum. I was going to say, I mean, how much of the book is, the first sentence of your interview with Mercury Morris?
Yeah, Mark gave me a long interview as well as several other people. Well, I interviewed 11 of them. But yeah, you're funny. You mentioned Scott and Anderson. That's the perfect microcosm of the whole thing, because you couldn't find two more different guys than them. Jake Scott was a party animal, a bar brawler. I mean, he's just a tough guy.
He's like a hockey player with a helmet.
Yeah, running around with all the ladies, and then you have Dick Anderson, who was the conservative married guy. He was the designated driver basically. But the thing is, those two guys are best friends. And on this team, you had the very conservative types like Greasy and Morrill and some of the other guys, and then you have the kind of wild liberal and party guys. You have Jim Mandich, who's one of the big partiers, along with Scott and Manny Fernandez, and then you have guys who are several of the guys, the conservative guys that I mentioned, are very politically conservative, and but then you also have Mark Fleming and Marlon Briscoe and guys who are very liberal, and this is at a time of great, just as it is today, it always has been great conflict between the political sides. But in that year, in fact, we had both national conventions were in Miami Beach that year. So there's a lot going on with the Vietnam War and Watergate. But this team was determined. Don Shula brought them together with this maniacal goal to finally win the Super Bowl and to avenge the loss they had to Dallas in the previous Super Bowl. And they put aside all their differences and were really committed to just winning.
Marshall, I know you focus on the players from that group, but I'm always curious because a lot of the times people focus on the teams they played that year and the way that they play in the playoffs, and it wasn't as dominant as the team the next year. That team was just a lot more dominant. And we look at some of the teams since. Where do people around the NFL and NFL lore put that team? Because down here, of course, my mom talks about that team like you. You were 9. My mom was a child, and she remembers that team. And it was just like Defo talks about. They were a part of the fabric of our society here in South Florida. But where do people around the NFL, if you talk to them, where do they put that team? Because I always wonder where a lot of it feels like that team gets forgotten a lot of the time.
Yeah, it does. Although, in fact, on the 100th anniversary of the NFL, the league named them the greatest team of all time.
Okay.
Now, of course, and the funny thing is, like Zonka always likes to say that, look, undefeated, the perfect record, no one has ever done that. So by definition, you're the greatest team. But then in the next sentence, he'll say that the 73 team was even better. So
he himself,
exactly. The thing is, there's no greatest team of all time. Just like there's no greatest tennis player of all time. You can't really compare different eras and say one team is the best. But what you can say in the NFL is there was one season that was the greatest achievement ever. Yeah. There's no question about that. The perfect season. So I think about that, there can't really be an argument.
There's always debate, and I don't know how your interview went with Bob Greasy. I would imagine it was favorable if you did talk to him, since he was talking about one of the great accomplishments in sports history, but not necessarily an overwhelmingly outgoing personality all the time, Bob Greasy. And we got to know him. Last time I saw him, I was doing a remote from Shula's Hotel, and Larry Little has a golf tournament every year in conjunction with our friends at Hialeah Park. And it brings in a lot of, people, and Greasy was playing in the thing. So, and I'd conducted, interviews over the years with Greasy, and always, it was fairly favorable. But he's staring at me for a long time, just standing at the table while I'm on the air. And then at the end, when I finally go to a break, he looks at me and says, "What are you doing here?" Hey, Bob, how was your breakfast? I don't know. I mean, he's a strange cat. And people would debate whether he was really Hall of Fame caliber, now known as this cerebral quarterback. And, The first stat that comes to mind is the 7 passes he threw to win the Super Bowl that year. Not exactly the catalyst, it would seem, for the level of greatness that team achieved. What are your thoughts on Greasy?
Well, that's funny. Well, it's funny, first of all. I mean, my book has a lot of funny quotes of people describing him just as you just did. Especially like Mercury Morris told me that, Morrill was the old man on the team, Earl Morrill, who filled Greasy half the season. But he says the Greasy was like, Greasy acted like an old man, but Morrill acted like an old man, So there's a lot of funny quotes about Greasy. But I have to say, Greasy was a great, great quarterback. And, he threw 7 passes. That's all they had to. They had such an unbelievable running attack. They didn't have to throw. And in fact, at halftime of Super Bowl 7, he told the team, look, in the second half, I'm only going to throw if I have to. We're just going to run the ball. And then in the Super Bowl 8, all they did was run. I mean, I think that's when he threw 6 or 7 passes. So, but the Dolphins, the thing about that team is even though they almost always ran, they ran about 70% of the time, but they also had probably the best passing attack in football. They had Paul Warfield, greatest wide receiver of all time, maybe. I mean, only wide receiver in the Hall of Fame with a 20-yard average. And they also had great, they had Howard Twilley and Marlon Briscoe, really good receivers. And Greasy was a great quarterback. He just, as Waterfield said to me, Greasy loved to throw and I loved to catch, but we didn't care about statistics. We did what we wanted to do, what we had to do to win. And the best way for that team to win was to just grind out the clock on the ground.
Well, and they also had a couple of X factors there. You had the Butch Cassidy Sundance Kid thing with Jim Kick, who recently passed away, and the Merc was no slouch. I mean, probably not talked about enough. On one of what is it, 2 or 3 guys that averaged 5 yards a carry for his career with a significant number of carries to qualify for such a stat.
Yep. Yeah, he was a great runner, and it's such an exciting runner to watch. And one of the things that surprised me when I started researching this is that, Morris he had the all-time NCAA record for rushing it for like a few weeks until O.J. Simpson beat him out. They sort of had a rivalry going, and but he was, he came out of college the number 2 rusher in the country, and his first 3 years in Miami, he could not get a lot of carries. It was just kick and zonka and kick. And finally, after the loss to Dallas in the Super Bowl, he convinced Shula he's got to give him a shot, and Shula finally gave him his playing time in '72, which of course cut into Kick's playing time, and there's a lot of controversy there. But Mercury Morris took advantage of that and gained 1,000 yards. They were the first team to have 2,000-yard back. But he was just, every time he touched the ball, it was sheer excitement for everyone watching.
All right, Shula, in conversations I had with him, the last thing you wanted to bring up was Joe Namath and that Super Bowl in 1969 when the Baltimore Colts were favored by like 17 and a hook, and they ended up losing the ball game. And even though the score was somewhat close and there were chances that the Colts could have come back in that game, that they made enough mistakes to lose ultimately on the scoreboard. But I thought the Jets really dominated that ball game, and that was a particular embarrassment for Shula. First guy to lose to the AFL, which was considered this renegade league, and he would bristle a little bit, even though he was still, I guess he had gotten over it to the point where he was complimentary of Namath and all. But I don't know, did that trouble him to his grave, Don Shula? I mean, what do you think? Because anytime you brought it up, it was like, you got the look from him with the John. You felt like he was saying to you without actually uttering the words. Can we talk about something else, please?
Yeah. Well, I think winning 2 Super Bowls and having the perfect season did a lot to ameliorate that. But certainly, look, he was the coach of the Colts for, 8 years or so. And he finally, after several close calls, he finally won the NFL championship. But then it was the 3rd year where the NFL champion had to play the AFL champion for the Super Bowl, because before 1970 they were still separate leagues.
Right.
So he won the NFL championship, but then he had to go play these Jets, and Shula didn't take it lightly, but his team did, and he could not get them to take it seriously. They thought they were going to just kill him, and of course the opposite happened. And so then, it's such an embarrassment. The owner of the Colts, Carroll Rosenblum, was mortified, and he blamed Shula publicly. and mocked him even after he left Baltimore and when he was with the Dolphins. It was a huge embarrassment for Shula. And then they lost another Super Bowl with Miami, and really people were saying he couldn't win the big one. So that just added to this obsession he had in 1972 to finally go all the way.
I'll tell you the other thing he wasn't really fond of hearing was when it was common to say that the game had passed Chuck Noll by. And then he had a one like 6-10 season with the Dolphins when he had Marino. And of course, the wise guys from the local press, there's always one that goes, hey, Don, is the game passed you by? And he wasn't a big fan of that concept whatsoever. All right. I mean, what really did make this team so special? I mean, obviously, you mentioned the talent. I keep thinking, and I got to know Paul Warfield a little bit through multiple interviews because, as Lubie pointed out, and this was something that always impressed me. The 72 team players were still very much entrenched in the fabric of the local South Florida society, even to this day. I mean, the remaining guys are still very popular, and it seems like you run into them where, I mean, sports professionals, you don't really see these guys out there in the community anymore representing, the Miami Dolphins or whatever team they happen to be playing for. But as you looked at the club in general, what was it? I mean, Paul Warfield was a decoy in many instances as a pass receiver. But I mean, was it a team that should have been as dominant as it was, or did they, just overachieve and do something special because they had, as you said, this kind of bizarre chemistry?
Well, I wouldn't say they overachieved. The funny thing about this team is so many of them, when interviewed, would say, "Oh, I wasn't really that great an athlete. I just made the most of what I had." And and they were they were not mediocre athletes. I mean, Bob Greasy, you may not think of him as the greatest athlete, and he would say about himself, "I wasn't really that great an athlete, but all state in 3 sports, played for Purdue in 3 sports, and I forget the name of it. Oh, Cassie Russell, the great basketball player for the Knicks. When he was later asked who was the best defensive player he ever played in college or the pros in basketball, he said Bob Greasy. Now, that's a pretty good athlete.
Wow.
So a lot of these guys would say that. Howard Twilley would say he wasn't that great an athlete. He was at the time, he was the NCAA all-time leader in receptions. I mean, that's not just hard work. So I think they were a lot better athletes than they gave themselves credit for, but they were also intelligent and extraordinarily focused, and they had a coach who really brought it all together.
All right, sounds very interesting. Where can people get the book? People always say the usual sources, but how do people acquire 17 and 0 by Marshall John Fisher?
Yeah, it's Amazon, hopefully your local bookstore, and you can ask for it anywhere.
Okay, so just look it up, log on to the computer. It seems simple enough. You'll have the thing delivered the very next day. Well, congratulations on this piece of work, and it was very enjoyable, Marshall, having you on the program. It sounds like it's going to be a great read for anybody that either was or a fan of that 72 team or maybe was completely unfamiliar, to get some great insight into a real bunch of characters that comprised what many people feel should be considered the greatest football team of all time. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Defo Show on South Florida Live. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you, guys. I enjoyed talking with you.
Thanks, Marshall.
All right. Very good, man. Very well-informed individual there, this Marshall John Fisher.
That was great.
I was not familiar with this man. Were you?
No, but he got in depth with this book, which is great. Like, I grew up with this. That's the funny thing is when I grew up, Marino. So Marino was, like a godlike figure, but there was nothing like the 72 team. Like, you'd go out and about and they'd be doing autograph signings and their line would be out the door. And this is in the 90s. And that team was so beloved. And even when we would do our shows and go to the Offerdahl thing, like, you would get Little and Kick and Merck, and they would be more. And it's interesting because you have some of the current Dolphins, and that 72 team, the line will be a lot longer than it would be.
They're far more entertaining than most of the players that you talk to today. I mean, it's not like there aren't interesting guys in pro sports today, but all of those guys were extremely entertaining, and their stories were great. I was very lucky to get to know a lot of those players that were on the 72 team during the course of my time here in South Florida because while they're celebrating 50 years, will it be another 50 years, though? That's I meant to ask Marshall Fisher that question. Will it be another 50 years before we see not another undefeated team, but another Miami Dolphins Super Bowl win? What do you think?
Jesus, God forbid.
Are we going 50 more?
Oh, my God.
You don't even have them. I mean, people don't have them winning 8 games this year. And a 17, that means they would go sub 500 with all of these changes. Is that even remotely possible? Did you see this, by the way? I didn't know this, Lubie. That Chris Greer, his brother, I believe, is a gentleman named Mike Greer, and became like a general manager of
the Sharks.
The San Jose Sharks, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. The first
black
brother
GM in the NHL.
The first, definitely African-American brothers to be GMs in professional sports together, which is really cool.
I hear the cynics out there saying, well, I sure hope his brother is better at pucks than this guy is with a pigskin.
Well, he was interesting this offseason. We'll see.
I mean, if Chris Greer was the guy that was the architect of these moves, I think it was just a stroke of pure genius. I really do. I don't know. I don't see this failing. Why am I like walking right into a left hook from Roberto Duran?
You and I are usually hard on the Dolphins, and even I'm really positive. So that's what freaks me out.
I don't understand how you can improve at like every position by light years. Yep. Not every position, but overall. I mean, and go from a guy that was. I never understood Brian Flores' offensive concept. Did you?
No,
I'm not knocking Flores. I mean, Flores did wonderful, work here because he had nothing. I mean, they were stripping him away. They were telling him to lose, for God's sake.
Yes,
telling him. Stephen Ross told him to lose.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that's more believable than Ross's defense said. I never said that.
No, you were trying to lose. We know it. I wanted it. Believe me, I was all in.
That was the plan, was to lose, which is a hideous, disgusting, despicable position for any team to take at any time to tank their entire season to try and get a draft pick.
No, the only team that really worked for is the Colts. I mean, outside of that, all these other teams that have tanked for quarterbacks, it hasn't really worked out.
And the draft pick they could have taken Herbert and had themselves a prototype NFL quarterback, but instead they took Tua. So they had this opportunity. They lost deliberately. They didn't lose enough because Brian Flores, miraculously rallied this team in the second half of the season to go 5-4.
Yep.
In impossible circumstances, when they had shipped everybody away and were bringing people in from gas stations to man the offensive line.
Yes, that's what they did.
But I never really, I don't know. I mean, I watched a zillion games in my lifetime, Louie. I have a pretty decent concept of what's going on out there. I never fully understood what it was that Brian Flores' offensive philosophy was.
It's a joke.
Right? It was easier to define Tony Sperano's offensive philosophy than Brian Flores. It was.
Yeah, because he was.
Of course, his was rather simplistic, but let's run the ball 6 times and get a field goal. Okay, Tony. That sounds good. Do we need to have any more meetings about this? Or are we going to just go out there and look like fools? That'd be the way to go. I don't know. Did you? I mean, can you tell me some kind of character? What was characteristic of Brian Flores' offense, except that he seemed like he was scared to death that Tua was going to lose a ball game for him? What do you think?
That was my problem. What do you mean? Like, when everyone was praising Flores, I was the first one to say, look, they're doing good defensively, but I don't know what he's doing with the offense. And he would
never understood it.
Then the O'Shea guy sort of figured it out, and then he fired him. And then he brought in...
He had like 6 offensive coordinators, right? Yeah. That's a sign that he's a Meshuggah when it comes to this stuff.
Yes, and then his last
undefinable, anyway. Undefinable.
No,
I don't know. I mean, no.
And that was my concern with him the whole time was, yes, he's got the defense down. Fine. He's not a defensive coordinator. He's a head coach in an offensive-driven league. You got to at least have some semblance of offense. And he didn't. He had no idea, and that's why I'm.
Were they a running team, a passing team? What were they? Did they
didn't care.
Go for the dink ball? I mean, obviously they were going to dink the ball down the field because they didn't think Tua could throw it 30 yards down the field and complete a pass.
Well, I guess.
And he didn't really have time because he was on Ben Gazzara time, right, running for his life.
Yes, he was getting killed.
Gazzara is particularly evil in the movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. I don't know how many times you've seen that. For some reason, I watch it like every time.
Used to be on a lot, yeah.
Like a little piece of it. I mean, it's ridiculous already what goes on at the Double Deuce. You ever been to a bar like that in your life where every night people are hitting each other over the head with chairs like a pro wrestling match breaks out? All of a sudden, it's like, McMahon! The Double Deuce. And the band's just playing as if they were in the Blues Brothers, and they're throwing bottles through the mesh wire. It was a little far-fetched, I would have to say. But Gazzara was particularly evil. When he trounced that guy's car dealership with the monster truck, come on, Ben. May he rest in peace.
Exactly.
The chick in that movie, not the one that was with Swayze, but the goofball girl that was with Gazzara, that was all over Swayze. I mean, I wonder, she that had to be a great acting role. If she's anything like that in real life, that would be a surprise to me. All right, we're going to come back with more. We have to tell you about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, though. Wow, summertime, and the living is easy. What better thing to do than just detach yourself from this reality, this rat race that we're in here in Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, points north, places all over the country, all over the world where you might be watching a show. Key Largo, my friends. Key Largo. Wow, is that a great place to go? And Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill is the spot in Key Largo. Mile marker 104. Great accommodations. Now, if you're one of those kind of worldwide travelers and you like high-end accommodations, this is your spot. I'm telling you, man. It blows away any suite that you would have at the Ritz-Carlton. It's absolutely fantastic and far more reasonable. And looking out over the bay where, I mean, they have this piece of property that's so perfectly developed to accommodate your every whim, your every need. It's absolutely fabulous, including great food and drink. The restaurant's fabulous with Don Congemi, John's brother. I was thinking of John because I want to maybe get him in this British Open pool, no?
Yeah, I was going to think of having him on this week. Talk a little golf for us because we have no freaking clue.
We might have to, see if he's around tomorrow, John Congemi, and reunite with him because we want to reunite with him and Jimmy Johnson down at the Big Chill. Mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. It's a great place to just hang. You leave Florida City. I mean, you could go to the Mutineer or get a sandwich at a gas station. Just save your appetite and jog on down to the Big Chill there, and you will be overwhelmed at not only the choices, but the absolutely scrumptious flavors that you can consume at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill while downing whatever it is, your favorite beverage. It's really great. I was hanging in the pool there for a while. You were at the bar watching sports with the professor.
That was a blast. We didn't leave the bar. Just there all
British
day.
Open, man. I mean, sitting there, you never know. Jimmy might be hanging out, and he loves to talk, man. He'll engage in conversation with virtually anybody. He has a book coming out with Dave Hyatt also. That's right around the corner, coming out in November. That's going to be Swagger, it's called. Going to be really a dynamite book because Jimmy can tell a story and really remembers. It's always amazing to me how coaches remember every detail of every ball game, and he remembers every detail of virtually everything that happened during his football career. So going to be a fantastic book, and you never know, you might run into Jimmy down there at the Big Chill. Larry Calvano and the crew, they do a great job. Larry's the owner of the place, and wow. That he really developed just a masterpiece there, right there at mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. It's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. You can find out more about the accommodations and read the menu, whatever, at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. I will come back and wrap this thing up. I don't know. It's been, not exactly your loaded potato, as you like to borrow from other people in town, but I don't know what we had here today. I'm not really sure. What do you think, Lubie?
I think we did our show.
Had a great time, man, and we appreciate all of the people that were, weighing in here on the chat line. Andy's doing well today. Had a couple of things to say. How about a Cassie Russell reference?
I love it. That was
by
great.
Marshall John Fisher. Cassie Russell.
Bob Greasy.
Cassie could flat out shoot, man. He was a very popular New York Knick, Cassie Russell. I loved Cassie's game. Michigan, right? And out of the corner, unbelievable. Really, really great shooter, Cassie Russell. A spark plug came on as a sixth man and became instrumental in, what, was it the 73 Knicks championship team, Cassie Russell? I wasn't that big of a college basketball guy at the time, but, everybody was aware of Cassie, and I'm pretty sure that he was an important six-man catalyst on the 73 Knicks championship team. That's what I want to say, Libby. I'm going to leave it at that. All right, we're going to come back. If that's wrong...
It is what it is.
Right.
Exactly.
I'll have more lawsuits than Deshaun Watson on that statement. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that. It's 8:49. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by asleep, to say we end the heartache and 1,000 natural shocks.
What could that have been about, except
Gambling.
to hedge or not to hedge?
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
Of course, being a key there, as I've been debating this in my head the entire show. Who's got more pressure, Carr or Rogers?
Oh, Jesus. You're so
with the Devontae Adams trade. I'm going to go with Carr because, you can just continue to compound the cliches and factor him into the equation there. I'm going to go with Carr because, Lubie, he's yet to win the big one.
There you go. Good job.
He hasn't proven that he can win the big one.
Yes. He hasn't even
He's come through. I think he's distinguished himself a little bit more than he has in the past, right? There aren't as many doubts about Derek Carr as they may have had, people may have had at one time. Rogers, on the other hand, has won the big one.
Yes.
Therefore, easy deduction, more pressure on Derek Carr because he hasn't won the big one. All right, let's see what Stephen A. Smith has to say about that. Let's bring in Windhorst here. Who's more pressurized coming into the season, Brian? What do you think?
Bringing Windhorst to talk about, they went Defo. Bringing Windhorst to talk about a sport he doesn't cover at all. Lost you. Oh, this is fun. I lose Defo. I'll bring back Defo. Still don't have Defo. That's fun. The time. It is 8:55. Thanks for tuning in. Check us out at 12 o'clock for more of the Defo Show with Lubie Action with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. You can check out Mike Mayo's Lunchbox at 12 o'clock right here each and every day. Appreciate everyone for checking us out this morning. We'll check you out at 12 o'clock right here on South Florida Live with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.